All right, I am in here. This thing's got a mind of its own. So if you're in there waiting, I'm on live right now. It is 1:49 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. I'm Brother Francis E. Revels-Bey. Welcome to Clear Blue Radiance for Thursday, October 2nd, 2025. My topic for today is Our Words We Speak Creates Our Life Experience. Actually, it probably should read The words we speak create our life experiences. And so there's going to be a short original creative path work meditation right at the end. So stay tuned, and it's going to be related to today's topic. Well, I'm the host of Clear Blue Radiance. I'm Brother Francis E. Revels-Bey. I've been a longtime spiritual counselor for over 45 plus years or so, and I enjoy assisting people such as yourself to have a greater clarity in your life and understand your purpose. And often our purpose can change as we change, evolve, and grow. We're always doing that, right? We're growing all the time. And so, as we have a greater understanding, yes, yeah, hey, us, as we have a greater understanding about who we are in our own life, how we are acquiring more wisdom as we go along. What is that? As we acquire, excuse me, more wisdom as we go along, we are always seeking an opportunity to come a little better, be a little better with ourselves. If we don't do it, who's going to do it? As they say, no one can do it for us but ourselves. And so we're seeking that, right? We're seeking a better life for ourselves, better choices we're striving to make. And it all starts with not only how we're feeling, but also in the words that we are choosing to utilize for ourselves. So, our words speak, our words that we speak create our life experiences. Our own words, the words that we use, our own personal words, as well as the collective humanities phrasing English wherever you are in the world, they are truly very powerful when we speak them correctly. So now I'm not a person that gets too much into the etymology of words. Though I should. I used to when I was much younger, trying to learn how to become a speaker on stage and stuff. But sometimes it's good to understand where a word actually comes from, as opposed to borrowing words from other people, other cultures, without fully understanding. As you know, sometimes when we're using what we call American English is full of everybody else's words, languages from around the world. Some words can be traced through Old German, Old Yiddish, Old Hebrew, old Scottish, Welsh, all those things, right? Because people are constantly interacting with people around the world. And what we find is that when people usually travel outside the country, whatever country that they're going to, the people there really like it when you have a basic understanding of their language and how to conjugate your words, create your sentences. And so if you happen to speak uh, their language and you put the accents in the wrong places, they will tell you they don't understand what you're saying. If you use a certain, like in French, there are words that are called female gendered words and male gender words. And that's very important to understand because if it's a female gendered word, it's going to have a certain influence on the person that you're having a conversation with. If some of the words are considered a male gendered word, then you're going to have that kind of experience, even though you're talking about the same thing all the time in conversation. But here with American English, it breaks all rules. Only thing that we do get away with that makes sense is our grammatical use of words and trying to put that into context, and adjectives and um, verbs and adverbs, and knowing where to place a period, knowing when to place a comma. These things help us pause in our mind a specific thought before we go on to the next thought. Sometimes we're not paying attention, though, to what we are thinking and feeling and then saying out loud. We've heard those phrases, don't put your foot in your mouth. Because you might say something around someone, and the person that you're talking to may not understand exactly where you're going in your conversation, especially if you're speaking to someone from a different background than yourself. Then that person might take your words as they can be infectious. They can you can be an influencer with your words, or you might be insulting and may not even realize that you're being insulting to the person that's in front of you, because we're in a melting pot kind of world. Even though people are trying to change that, it's going to be hard to change because there's so many cultures, so many people from so many parts of the world that are here. I remember an old joke that Flip Wilson said. you know Here you had the some of the indigenous people, right, to the land, and he put it in a funny context. He said, people are sitting there minding their own business, having a picnic right on the shore. All the family, the husbands, the wives, the children, and they look out on the sea and they see a boat coming in. Now they see this boat coming in, and they're very intelligent. They know that that's not one of their boats, because they have like more like canoes. They don't have these two-decker, three-decker ships heading their way. And the people coming to the shore are thinking that they're discovering that landmass, even though they see people right there in front of them. So he would turn that always into a joke. You got people there, the indigenous people there, and somebody's coming in saying, look, they discovered this land. How can you discover something that somebody's already occupied? And I always would say, yeah, it's like someone coming to your house and they got everything in the truck, and they intend to move into your house while you're right there. We see that all the time with squatters who case a whole neighborhood, and they notice a certain house. They don't see cars or trucks coming and going. They come there at night. Hopefully, there's no alarm on the front door, side door, or back door, and then they break into the house. They know that the house has been abandoned. It hasn't been abandoned, just the people are out of town. But the squatter will go in there and act as if that is their residence. And the squatter knows if they can hang out for 30 days, it's like they're claiming that person's house. But then the owner comes back and says, hey, who are you people? And that person squatting in the house is not letting them in their house, because why? They went out and changed the locks on the doors. So now the people can't get into their own house. But the 30 days ain't up yet. So what is the squatter is doing? The squatter is getting mail coming to that address, and maybe taking the other person's mail and throwing it away. These things do happen. So I say that because that's all a part of the scenarios that are happening all the way around the world. It's not just happening here in America. It's happening in Canada. It's happening in South America. It's happening in Europe, in Asian countries, you name it. It happens a lot, a lot. So these are things that can happen. And because of the choice of words that we use to try to influence the person in front of you to behave properly or to honor what you're saying, it's very important how you choose to say it. Again, you don't want to upset the person. You don't want to feel like you're demeaning the person in front of you. So, yeah, you have to choose your words properly. We know when we deal with children, it's important to uh, watch what you say. I remember living, renting a spot when I first had to move out, be on my own. And this is right after college and before my mother passed away. And I lived in this guy's house paying him rent. And he rented a bedroom to me. And he was the kicker. He had no idea. He's no longer on the planet. He was nice to me after a while, got to know who I was, and then realized my last name and looked in his bedroom and he had a plaque with my dad's signature on it. He said, "Hey, is this your father?" And I said, "Sure is. My father's a radio and TV repairman and technician, and he taught at Sylvania Radio and TV School in Garden City, New York, on Long Island." He said, I was in that class, and your father signed my diploma." And then that's how he opened up toward me. He realized, man, I got this man's son in my house, so I got to treat him differently than the other tenants in the house. Now, here's the thing, he wanted his son to learn how to play guitar because he knew I could play guitar. He remembers seeing me, earlier when I was younger, playing with a group back in the day, an R&B group called Crimson Five. I was the only member from Hempstead. Everybody was 15 minutes away from Lakeview. Everybody lived in Lakeview. A lot of people, well-known people, lived in Lakeview as well as Hempstead and other locations. And the problem was he was a very earthy street language kind of person. So when he spoke to his son, who he named after him, because his father, you remember like George Foreman? George Foreman called all his sons George and then called his daughter Georgette. So they wouldn't forget his name, right? That was his concept. Well, this guy, they would call him by his initials, WH and then Robinson. And it so happens that his side of the family, from his father's side, is actually related to the R&B guy Smokey Robinson in the Miracles. That's their like cousin, second cousin over from them. Well, this guy WH, he had a very street sounding voice. So when he spoke to his son, who was only at that time about, I think, about 8 years old. He's up, Brother Revels. He couldn't say Revels-Bey, he would say Rivers. He said, "Brother Rivers, can you go with me down to the music store and take my son and see what kind of guitar fits him?" I said, "Well, you don't want to get him an electric guitar." He said, "Well, why not?" "Well, if you get him an electric guitar and you spend a lot of money on an electric guitar, and suppose he don't feel like playing it anymore. Now he's stuck with an electric guitar. You're stuck with an amplifier. Now you'd have to take it back to the music store and exchange it or sell it back to them, see if they want it." He said, "Yeah, that's a good idea." I said, we'll get him a nice acoustic that fits him, his hand movements and everything." Did that. Got him some basic music books so that I could teach him. But here was the problem. The son, whenever he came upstairs to study with me on the second floor, he was always a nervous wreck. And I said, "Billy, what's wrong?" He'd always be looking down at the floor. So I had to always give him a pep talk, build up his self-esteem. Now he was with me in that bedroom for an hour. So I would every week on a particular day spend the first 10 minutes building up his confidence, building up his self-esteem. Why? Because I finally heard what was going on with him and his father. His father would take him into the basement where he was like staying at in the basement. And his father would be hollering at him, not just yelling and screaming at him. His father was using curse words on coming full blast as if his father would talk to him like he was an adult. He's only 8 years old. His father would call him stupid MF, dumb MF. "Oh, you like your mother. You're not going to amount to anything. Blah, 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 blah." And that's all he would say to him, rather than saying, "You could learn to do better. You got to practice more." So when you go upstairs once a week with Brother Rivers, you showing some improvement. Well, I had him for 6 weeks, and after a while, I couldn't take it. So his father said, "Well, he's ready to study with you." I says, he said, "But I'm gonna go up there. I'm gonna watch you teach him." I said, "Okay." So he comes upstairs, brings a chair, folding chair. So there they are, two folded chairs, and I'm sitting on the bed teaching him. Well, what was the problem? His father had this stern look on his face. Like, if you don't get this right the way Brother Rivers is teaching you, I'm going to smack you up beside your head. So I said, you know what? He can't practice with me because you're making him nervous. So I said, Billy, just sit here. So I took the father downstairs. I said, I've heard you over the last couple of weeks while I'm trying to teach him, literally curse your son out. I said, you know what's going to happen to your son? He said, well, he needs it. He needs that tough guy. I said, well, you think he needs it. Well, he's natural like you. You're Capricorn. He's a Leo. But he's not a strong enough Leo yet. But what you're doing is you're breaking his spirit. You're shutting off his self esteem, his self confidence, to the point that whenever he's doing something in school, he goes to school. Yeah, he's playing hooky. I said, well, you used to do that too. All parents have kids that do stuff that parents did. They just don't tell the parents, right? Because that was their time and now it's the kids' time. But the problem was the father was always breaking his spirit, calling him the ugliest names, telling his son he's never going to amount to anything. I said, so I got to clear him up for the first 5 minutes of the class, 10 minutes. Then I got to go over a lesson. Yeah, he's not progressing because you already told him he's not going to be good at it. You already told him he lacks total self confidence in himself. You already have been beating up on him with your choice of words. So I will guarantee you, twice the age he becomes, 16, he's going to be that kid that's going to be running in the street with the other boys and girls who are playing hooky, who are getting involved in gangs, who are doing things they have no business doing, be smoking, be drinking, and all kind of other things. Only because you keep planting that same seed in his head. So I use that as an example because eventually, once that son, he never graduated from, he graduated from grade school, but he dropped out of high school by the time he got into his sophomore year in high school. He was in trouble all the time, and he wound up going to jail. And his father said, well, I'm not going to visit him. I said, I understand why you don't want to visit him, because you put him there. You already told him who he was and who he should become, and he became that. He fulfilled your prophecy, your negative prophecy, because you spoke negativity into him and over his life. So people don't understand that our words that we're thinking about, then speaking, right? Because we have what we call a language. We begin to speak. One thing we're not paying attention to is the energy, the emotional feelings that are embedded in each and every word. People often don't remember those. Why? Because they don't realize that's what they're doing. So sometimes, because a parent or an elder may not realize, I have some clients where they said their grandmothers told them they weren't amounting to anything, and they struggled with that. Yet somehow they climbed up out of the pit of low self esteem and they began to take jobs and excel at them, even though they may not have. I have one client, she never, I think, yeah, she did go to college, but she didn't go into college wanting to be a nurse. And when she was in her 50s, I believe, like 50s and 60s. I think she's about as old as older than one of my cousins. So she was born in the late 50s. I'm born in the early 50s. And this woman decided after everything that she's ever done that she wanted to become a nurse. And she knew a guy from college. He became a doctor. But eventually he left the medical field as a doctor out in the state of Missouri to become a big real estate guy. I mean, buying and negotiating. He went from homes that he owned in Florida and California and in Missouri, where he was from. He basically started his own, like, small real estate business where he started buying not only garden apartments, but condos and as well as apartment buildings. That's what he started to do. He started buying apartment buildings. And he put her in one of these buildings. And he told her he'd give her a little money to help her out and so forth. Well, eventually, she became a nurse. She started taking courses, and eventually, she became a nurse. She had to pass the exam, and here she was in her 60s, just about wanting late 50s, I'll say, wanting to be a nurse. And she had to take the state exam. And I think she flunked it the first two times, but she kept going after it. And one day, the exam took place on her birthday. In I'm not going to say her birthday, but it was at the end of January because she's an Aquarius. It happened on her birthday, and it happened to be a Saturday. So you know what she did? Gave her all the positive things to think about, angelic presence that deals with exams. She studied that stuff so much that she made up her mind that she was going to pass that test. And she did. She passed that test. I think she only missed one question. The other times she would miss two or three or four, but she had to at least have no more than two wrong answers in order to pass. Well, she knocked that course, that exam, which was 3 hours, out of the park, and she became a nurse. She worked in prisons. She worked, which is rough to do. She worked in schools, like middle schools and high schools. And then eventually it just all came to fruition for her. Why? Because she started wanting also, and she still has this drive to do it. She wants to be a motivational speaker. She did it. She had an opportunity to be interviewed on someone's podcast, audio podcast, live, but she still has the drive. That's the important thing I want to say. And she started speaking highly of herself. She changed her life experience because she spoke positively about herself. That's what this talk is about. What words are you using to describe yourself and your life? That's important. You see, often our true feelings are embedded with our emotions, connected to plans that did not work out for us in the past. And depending on who you had around you at that time, that also influenced the way you were thinking. Do you know, have you ever heard people across many cultures saying, I am third generation, but I'm the first one to go to college? I am the first one to graduate from college with a bachelor's of science or a bachelor of arts. I am also the first person to get a master's degree or to get a PhD. I'm the first one. And then we know about elders who are seniors. In this, I'm like 73. I thought about going back to school. I'm a little lazy, but I'm enjoying what I'm doing. But how many have heard about a grandmother or a grandfather that went back to college, were enrolled in college, and applied themselves so well that they walked down the aisle? They got their diploma, got either a Bachelor of Science or they got an MBA. You've probably heard about families where hmm, mothers and daughters graduate on the same day, and both of them get a master's degree. Or you probably heard of some that got the whole enchilada. Husband and wife got a PhD in ministry, and then their sons and daughters got their Bachelor of Science degrees and working on their masters. So now everybody is degreed up. You've heard this, but we also know it's not about trying to work hard to get where we have to go. It's about working smart. So we have to watch what we say. We have to watch what kind of story are we telling ourselves. Because if we got past memories of past plans where something didn't work out and it really bothered us, that will cause us to block ourselves. So we can't lean on the old stories, the things that didn't work out. We fail to realize that we have replanted. I'm going to say this again. We fail to realize that we have replanted old seed thoughts embedded with old emotions into the universal garden. I mean, beyond your auric field, beyond your physical field of things that you can see, into the ethers. Replanting, recycling. That's another way. Eventually, these old seed thoughts are served back to us like recycled newspapers, all wrinkled up. And we don't realize the emotions that we have laid into the words. You see, because when we lay our emotions in there, then we have our in our mind we doubt that we're going to be successful. We're doubting that our life is going to change. So because we have these negative emotions and feelings, these seed thoughts trickle back to us from the universe. And what do we get? Well, Deepak Chopra said, constant worry and stressful thoughts leads to being called a negative prayer. But then again, we have all kind of people around us. Our minds are like a new garden. We let me say this again. Our minds are like a new garden where it's more fertile and open. When you have a new thought, a new desire, a new heart, laying it on your heart to think about yourself differently. I think Dr. Reverend Michael Bernard Beckwith has said something, I'll just paraphrase it. He says, your attitude that you have about your life will determine your altitude. Your attitude about yourself and how you see your life will determine the altitude. Are you going to soar upward or are you going to mellow out into mediocrity? That's what he would always say. You're going to have a mediocre life or a life that's overflowing with goodness, overflowing with grace, overflowing with unconditional love, overflowing with creativity, overflowing with abundance. But he says the same thing that Neville Goddard said, think from the end. Um, Reverend Ike said the same thing. He would say, let us go into the theater of the mind, because he was very good with vocabulary and he would use words that would paint a picture in your mind. And he taught it in an old Rose theater that he turned into a mega church. And he would sit on stage or he would be in his office with an old fashioned gilded out chair, almost looked like it's bigger than him. What was he doing? He was planting new seeds in his mind, planting new seeds, new thoughts with new emotions in his mind, creating the vibrational bed within himself so that it would start to overflow on the inside of him and he would begin to feel it. That's why, I mean, all these teachers before him, Neville Goddard said, you have to feel it. Michael Bernard Beckwith says it, you have to feel it. And then you got to embody the feeling. Reverend Knight, because he was talking to a different crowd of people in the mid 60s up there in Harlem, Spanish Harlem, in those areas, he knew to say it like this: let the feeling get the blessing. So he means if you didn't feel good about yourself, the universe would bless you about that. If you felt good about yourself, the universe would bless you in that way. The guy, Deion Sanders, that's a coach up there in Boulder, Colorado, he has all these phrases up. He says, when you feel good, you look good. When you look good, you start doing better. You start doing good things. Why? Because you're raising your vibration about yourself. You become more confident. Not only that, you become more joyful. Not only that, you begin to attract positive experiences, positive people, positive relationships. The relationships you had that weren't working so well, when you learn to forgive yourself, you don't have to forgive the other person, but you forgive yourself, then that begins to change as well. People that you've had problems. Now, when you think of it, there may be some people that you'll never be able to correct a situation. And you have to come to a conclusion in your mind, closure, that will never change. So you'll have to forgive yourself for laying on the horn about that, talking about that particular storyline. Let me get some water here. You're going to want to change your outlook. You have to change your attitude. You have to change. In other words, you can't have any opinions because you look at the word opinion, in that word is pining. And what is pining? Pining is whining. So you start whining about something that didn't work out. So you got to find a way to let that go and start anew with new feelings, new emotions, and really spend the time getting into here. What are you thinking about? You can't keep thinking about the past. You can't keep talking about the past. You want to create new things because in every moment, every word that you speak is a spell on your life. You're spelling it out with words. You're spelling it out with a picture in your mind. You're spelling it out with not only the picture, but what does it feel like? What does it remind you of? You have to. We all have to change. Now you might say, "Well, how do you do it?" I said, "I'm not a master, but I'm sharing the thought with you because I've noticed certain things change when I change." In one of my books, The Wisdom of Akhenaten as I Am, he says in chapter 3 that we're an open door. An open door for what? When we open up our hearts, which is the door, we open up things with the words, which are like keys. So there's certain words that we use and certain phrases that we use that are embedded with a lot of energy. So we begin to dynamically speak into the ethers. The first law, first Kemetic law is the universe is all mental. That's what it equates to. Why? Because we're putting thoughts into the universe, and we are like an infinite seed thought from the universe. The universe directed us to be born here, to have soul contracts with your mom, your dad, your grandmother, your grandfather on both sides. Any siblings? Did you have girl siblings older or younger? Boy siblings older or younger? Or did you two souls come together and decide to be twins? or triplets or quadruplets or quintuplets? Did you decide that all five of you are going to be together down there at a certain time through a certain woman and man that you're going to call your parents? But these are just extensions of yourself, of your pod group, and they're going to play certain roles. So they're going to say some things too that are going to trigger you to do better, trigger you to feel bad, trigger you to doubt yourself, or trigger you to uplift yourself. So we have to watch the energy in our words, those feelings, these emotions that we have when we choose certain words. And our minds are like a new garden where most are fertile and open, then easily impacted by our surroundings, all those family members. Now, beyond the family members and relatives, you got neighbors and you got your peers that are your age, right? Then you got teachers. Then you got professors if you went on to college or university level. What else you got? If you decide to go to work, now you got a boss, you got a manager, supervisor, and then on up and up and up. You have to decide where you fit in, or maybe you don't fit in. Maybe you need to listen to your dreams. Maybe you're having dreams that are telling you you're not going to be there long. You're having a meditation, something comes to you and says, don't worry, don't do all that planning because you're not going to be there long. And you're going to say, well, what's going to kick me out? And someone's going to say, you need to go and do what you're here to do on the planet. You're not, and my mother used to tell me all the time. I couldn't understand it though. When I was 15 or 16, she said, I had a dream about you. I said, what did you dream now? And she would go, if you play your cards right, you do the right things for yourself that I'm trying to teach you how to do, you could retire at age 35. But seeing here, I didn't have a big enough vision to see myself retired at age 35. I couldn't see it. And it's hard to see something when you haven't experienced it or come across it. I didn't say that my mother was incorrect because everything I'm doing today is everything she told me back then before she passed away. Where I'm living at, the city that I live in, the state that I live in, she told me that back in 1979. She said, Long Island is not your home. The West Coast is not your home. You may know people north, south, east, west, northeast, north, south, northeast, southwest, southeast, and whatever those corners are. You're going to meet people from all parts of the United States. But where is your real home? Your real home is in the state of New Mexico, in the big old city called Albuquerque. That's where you're supposed to be. That's where you make things happen. People are going to meet you and you're going to meet people, the right people. But you're going to have a couple of rotten apples in there that you're going to meet. You're going to taste the apple and ain't going to like it. You're going to do some things you have no business doing. But those things have to happen in order to build your character. So often, if you choose to use the wrong words, those wrong words, by you thinking about them, will dismantle your self esteem. And as children, because I gave you the story of that landlord who would speak negativity into his son so much that the son believed what his father said about him. And the father couldn't understand why is he always going in and out of the county jail? You told him. What do you mean? You curse him out. You tell him he's not to amount to anything. So he believed that he would never amount to anything because you told him so. So he hung out with other boys that were told the same thing. And they cluttered together and they started robbing houses. They began robbing houses, robbing old men and women in the street, seniors in the street, running, hanging, drinking, partying, smoking, and doing everything else that, some are thrusted in that particular life. but he could not see it. And he only saw it when his son had to go off to prison. Never visited him, but eventually, when he came out, the son got himself together because he didn't want to live that life. He's seen it for 10 years or so in prison and county jail. So here he was. If you figure he was 18 when he went in, so by the time he got to be about almost 30 years of age, but he was then turning his life around. He was not letting old friends pull him back into old circles and old things. He started changing his life. He found a trade and stuck with it long enough that the trade took him away from the bad guys, so to speak, the young men and women who weren't still doing anything. Now, his father's passed on long ago, and I'm quite sure when his father passed on, by that time, he had made the significant changes. He moved off to Long Island and moved to North Carolina. Part of his family, relatives in North Carolina, and he's still down there. Changed his life. So, why do I say this? Throughout our lives, we are in search of better, positive life experiences by connecting with positive people. In big capital letters in my notes, I wrote, we are the creative artists, we are the creative writers, and creative speakers of our own lives. We're casting a spell. Our words are spellbinding, right? I'm gonna say almost magical. We're like the magician, the wizard, the prophets, the seers, the painters, the musicians, the choreographers, the actors and actresses. We are creating something new. Our mind is a canvas, it's blank. So we get a chance to paint a new image. We get a chance to change the image with colorful words that will describe what we're seeking to do. Well, here's what we need to know. One of the things that are very important. We are speaking over our lives more than we realize. We are also diligently thinking before we speak. In other words, we spend a lot of time in thoughts. If you're not talking or communicating with a neighbor, a sibling, or relative, or life partner, you're up here thinking all the time. This thing operates like a computer, nonstop, even when you're asleep, pumping out images, bits and datas of life experiences in your memory bank. We always speak, if possible, though, in the present tense. So once you clear out these old memories, these old thoughts, and don't bring them up again, once you disconnect from them, once you're done with them, now you begin to speak possibilities. Nothing is impossible, meaning that you can't attain it, because impossible actually means I'm possible. I possess the ability to change my life around. I possess the ability to be a magnet and begin to draw into my life positive experiences. Why? Because now I'm thinking and feeling differently about myself. I know that I'm going to be better. So great metaphysicians such as the late Reverend Ike and Neville Goddard would teach, act, listen, act as if you already have it. Have what? You already achieved the outcome, the destination. But other metaphysicians would add on to that. Well, not only did you attain that, but you got to go higher now. You got that first baton. You're the first person in the relay race, getting ready to pass it off to yourself in the second part of the race, and then pass it off to yourself in the third part of the race. And now when you get to the fourth part of the race, to be the winner, you've gone through all these other stages. You're not the old you anymore. You don't think like the old you. You're not hanging around people who bring up the old you unless it's positive. You're not hanging around relatives that may bring up the old you unless it's positive. And therefore, you're only thinking positive. You want something positive to happen in your life, you're going to have to be different. So that's important. Reverend Ike would say, in order to be, do, and have, in order to be what you want to be, do what you want to do, and then have what you want to have, you must dress the part. Dress the part physically, as well as in your mind, and as well as in your heart. So you got to feel good about yourself. You got to train yourself to become self confident again, with self courage again, knowing that you're going to be okay because the universe is going to lead you in the right direction. They also taught the ruler of your universe, the ruler of your universe lies within you. Reverend Ike would say the God in you is not the God outside. What you see outside are the results of all the thinking that went on the inside. Sometimes he would say it's an inside job. I mean, you got to go within and clear yourself so you can begin to build a new structure about yourself, and then you begin to see it in the world because now you're planting the seeds because you're embracing the thought as a vibration, and you begin to do what? Frequency. Frequent the thought, plant the seeds over and over and over. But here's another thing: you don't want to become attached to the thought, you just want to release it. Now, what's an example of that? A farmer is trying to grow crop. Do you think the farmer is going to grow a good bed of watermelon if he or she is reaching in the earth and pulling it up on the surface and then constantly, testing it out, touching it, and, getting in the way of the growth of the watermelon, the growth of root vegetables like potatoes, uh, getting in the way of carrots, getting in the way of radishes, getting in the way of an apple tree? Why? Because constantly in there plucking, you're not letting it grow. It's like a chef. If they have something in the oven, they're making pies and cakes, they can't keep opening up that oven door. They have to open up the oven door at a signature time, which is roughly about 30 to 45 minutes in the cake time, pie time, cookie time. Now they can look. Whatever they have in there, roasting up or broiling up, they gotta at a certain time look in and test it, right? But not constantly open the door. Constantly open the door to the oven interrupts the cycles of the cooking or whatever you're cooking. That's important to know. So you got to know that the ruler of your universe lies within you. That inside ruler only knows goodness. So you giving that part of yourself a chore. And Aaron, I want you to develop goodness in me. I want to be a good person. I want to be a healthier person. I want to be a happier person. Now you're saying what you want to be. He said, be, do, and have. Now you got to go about the doing part. And the doing part is what? Most of our illnesses come from negative thinking. So do away with negative thinking. Do away with being around negative acting and negative speaking people. So that means might be someone in your family or a friend that said, well, there's never been any successful musicians in our family. Why you want to be a musician? Or some families from other countries, they will tell you who have become comedians. Why you want to be a comedian when you could be a lawyer? You could be a doctor. You can become a judge. You can become an orthopedic doctor. You can become a optometrist. You can be someone that's in the. Why you want to do fashion? Men's fashion, women's fashion, children's fashion. Why you want to? Why don't you just go out and become a contractor, a construction worker, work in the streets? They make more money. I remember someone telling one of their children, "You need to get a job with the sanitation department. Young man didn't want to do that. He never did that. But what he did eventually become was a personal trainer because he wanted to play football. He knew he wasn't going to play professional football, but he was going to be in those other leagues of football, inner city football players, county football players. He was going to somehow get in there, but guess what? He That's like in the amateur part. They call them semi-pro football, semi-pro basketball, semi-pro golf, semi you name it. It's semi-pro, but not the real pro. But here's the kicker: he knew that's what he wanted to do. How could he be involved? He got into becoming a personal trainer, certified, licensed personal trainer. Now he can be anywhere. He can run into some people, professional athletes in a gym. The bottom line is he changed his attitude so he'd have a greater altitude. That's important. Reverend Ike taught, and I'm just paraphrasing now, even if you are physically sick, even if you are physically sick, do not keep claiming it or proclaiming it to the world. Don't claim, I'm sick, and then tell somebody in the world around you that you're sick. Because your cells, the trillions of cells going and coming in your body like clockwork, are listening to you. So we talked about several weeks ago, many times, I've talked about the Japanese guy Isaru Moto, who discovered that water is consciousness, it's living consciousness. And that you can have somebody speak something negative to water or write it and slip it under a glass and come back later and find out that distorted images. But you can speak something very positive and look under a microscope and notice that grace is perfect harmony in terms of the way it appears. That love, telling a plant that you love it, telling the water that you love it. You love what that water does for you because the cells within there they feel your vibration inside and they can feel what you're radiating, your frequency, what you're putting out into the world and how it impacts them. So you begin to see this and you begin to understand this, that you are the key. The garden is here. The garden is in the heart, but the key is here. How you choose to speak it into existence. You already can acknowledge it because you're having visions through the third eye. You can clairvoyantly see through here, clairaudient here, through here, and get this additional extended wisdom through the crown. But you know you're in what? An element to receive. So in this very moment, you could say things like, I am feeling better. Even though you may not feel, even though, okay, the doctor said you got a temperature of 102, you need to stay indoors, you need to drink plenty of fluids, you need to sweat it out, whatever. But at the same time, your cells are going, okay, well, I'm gonna show you what you need to do. I need you to go get fruits, certain vegetables, and they gotta be green. And we're gonna juice them. We're gonna juice your veggies, and we're gonna juice your fruits. And you're going to cut back on certain things that you no longer need to eat because it doesn't fuel your body but for a short period of time, and you're going to start increasing and drinking these things that have more potency, gets rid of the anti-inflammation in your body that's going on, gets gets rid of that inflammatory stuff that's happening to you. Just like you got to sometimes stay away from people who don't mean you well. You got to change the whole circle of life around. Every day you might want to start saying, I'm feeling stronger and healthy. You have to put it in the present tense. You might say, I can convene with myself, and they tell me what they need. So you're working in concert effort with trillions of cells in your body. You might say, I trust that my body knows because the ruler of the universe, be it God, Buddha, Krishna, whatever, in you, how you relate to it, dwells in me, lives in you. You might say, I affirm that I am well. Reverend Ike, you say, I am is the reflection of the thought process of God, the infinite mind of God. So you might want to say, you don't want to say, I am sick, because God will serve you sickness. You don't want to say, oh, I feel terrible. You'll feel more of that. You want to relay something very positive. So you might say, I affirm this truth that I am well. I affirm that I am strong and healthy. I affirm that the cells love me and I love my cells. So I listen distinctively and the cells tell me what to do. You might say, and this is a meditation that we're going to do, because we need to do this. We need to think about a meditation that we can do that can flip something around right away for ourselves. So this is a creative pathwork meditation that I put together. It's brand new. It's called The Garden of My Life. How many of you plant flowers, vegetables, pot them inside, outdoors, on your deck in the back? However you do it, you're doing it. The Garden of My Life. That's this new creative pathwork meditation. So here's what I want you to do. If you're home right now, or you're at an office, or you're driving home and you can pull over to the side of the road into a parking lot and listen to this, what I want you to do, I want you to jot down some very strong statements, short statements that can act as an affirmation or a decree for you. You're going to create a brand new picture of yourself, of your life. So you might write down four or five things or three things that you want to energize and then seed them into what you're thinking about. And then you begin to let it marinate with up here, and then you begin to receive it and hear it in the heart where it can become one with you. Get some nourishment, like to drink some water. But the whole idea is what? Preparing yourself to have a different life happening right away. So once you do that, I want you to write a short sentence, something that you desire. You can say, I am healthy and I am happy. You can say, I am a magnet. You can say, right after that word magnet, period, I attract new positive experiences and people. In other words, everybody that comes into your life, you're going to be supportive to them, and they're going to reciprocate and be supportive to you. Reciprocity is another law inside the Hermetic principles. Pairs and opposites are a part of that as well. Remember to write in the present moment. You are an artist painting your new, better life. In other words, this is going to be blank. It's like a canvas, white canvas. There's nothing on it because it's for you to begin to draw something new. Take your time, draw something lightly on the canvas. Take your time and begin to paint. Really think about the colors that you're going to use. You can make it a landscape, you can make it a still life. You can just go out in nature and freewheel it, paint, draw whatever you want. Something that will bring you inner peace. That's important. So let's take this moment together and just use some short phrases. The shorter the phrase, the more potent that the statement is for you. So let's just say, let's all of us focus on one thing. This way, it will exponentially expand into the greater horizon around ourselves. Let's just choose right now, in this moment, that you say, I now affirm that in each and every moment of my life, I am healthier, happier, stronger. I am healthier, happier, stronger. And I feel good about myself right now. I've done it before. I'm doing it again. When? Now. So you begin to think about it now. Become that which you say. See yourself healthier, see yourself happier, see yourself more joyful. See yourself begin to draw into your life positive things, positive experiences. Now, we all go through stuff where we're going to have the regular life's ups and downs. Everybody goes through it. Nobody is never untouched by life. Life has its curveballs and its fastballs. And it seems like life is throwing a pitch right at our head. Life is trying to hit us in the ribs with a fastball that's gotten out of hand. But we're going to just slightly deflect it. We're going to bunt it away. We're going to swing at it and we're going to create a single or a double or a triple or a home run, or we're going to clear the bases. Why? Because we're in a rhythm for success. We're in a rhythm for successful health. There's no crisis. We're not crying about anything. And we're not going to make it so rough on ourselves that we cannot attain it. So you can say, I affirm that each and every moment of my life, I'm feeling better and better. I feel wiser. I feel stronger. There used to be a lady back in, I think, in the 80s or the 70s. She had a song like that. You know, I'm rich, I'm poor. I'm no longer poor, but I'm rich, I'm wiser, I'm happier. And I forget what it was, but she sang this beautiful song and it was played on the radio all the time. So much that people bought the album, bought the 45, and they were playing it all the time. Why? Because it was a very uplifting, positive music composition that, and the melody was so potent, you couldn't help but sing it. So let's all pick to be healthier and happier. Let us all pick this one phrase so collectively we're drawing it into our lives. We are the magnets of a healthy body, a healthy mind. We are this, and we could feel it. Our cells are listening and then communicating with us. So we're healthier and we're happier. And we are a magnet for a better body. We are a magnet for healthy emotions. We are a magnet for positive thinking. We are a magnet for new relationships, new friends who are what? Happy like us. Because that's what you're going to attract. Yes, opposites do attract, but guess what? You break the bank. That which is opposite of you can be attracted into your life, especially if it's going to cause you to get better at what you're doing. That's important. We are not in competition with anybody else, but we are willing to assist or be supportive. So that means if someone around you hit the number, makes 10 grand, be happy for them. Reverend Ike, you say, don't scorn it. Be happy. Why? Because you could be next. That's a good thought. Somebody hits $1 billion thing, and you turn around and you become next because in your mind you're next. Jennifer, Jen, we are a magnet. We're going to draw things into our lives because it's, Reverend Ike said, it's an inside job. And so, in order to be or become something, you have to do something that brings it to you. Then you will have it. Reverend Ike used to say, dress the part. He used to, young people would say, I can't get a job. He said, well, you can't go to a job in raggedy jeans and a sweatshirt. You're going to dress the part. You're going to get dressed. You're going to buy a tie. In fact, I'm going to buy you a shirt. I'm gonna buy you a tie. I'm gonna buy you a sports jacket. I'm gonna buy you 2 or 3 pairs of slacks and some nice shoes and socks, clean underwear. And now you're gonna go to that job interview. Why? Because you feel better. You dressed up for it. Now I'm gonna help you build your confidence and help you speak that job into your existence. That's why companies always ask, "Well, what can you do for my company?" Well, if you studied their company, you know how to present it back to the person that's interviewing and what you have to offer. Now, sometimes you may not get the job. So, what do? You keep trying, you keep doing. But at some point, the universe is going to tell you, all right, I know where you're supposed to be. And you're going to say, well, where's that? The universe might say, well, you remember when you were a child, you loved ping pong. Do you know there's a center around where they play nothing but ping pong? And you're gonna go there and you can say, why do I need to go play ping pong now? I'm an adult. But if you follow that first thought from the internal you that's connected to the universe, you wind up going there and meeting the right person. You might meet someone you haven't seen in a long time that you got along with, and they're saying, yeah, you're looking for a job? Our company is hiring. Oh, you're looking to do this? My boss needs that. And you're the ideal person. And I'm going to tell my boss about you. And I'm going to give you a card. I'm going to tell you what day to go in so you can talk to him or her. So we are a magnet. We are the ones that speak the blessing upon our own lives. No one else. Other people have in the past. But we're learning how to take charge and speak it to ourselves. I have a technique. It's a mirror technique. That means you get up in the morning after you get yourself all duded up, looking all nice, and then you look into the mirror and say, I love you, without blinking. Well, you're going to blink, but you can say, I love you. I love you so much. I think you're very handsome. And you're going to giggle at first. And you can say, I'm not handsome. You say, no, 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 you really are. You're beautiful. I love your smile. I love your laughter. I love this. I love that. People who have attended my meditation classes, Jen will tell you, sometimes I got to tell a corny joke, not to hear myself laugh, but to bring laughter into the room so that we're not taking ourselves so seriously that we cannot laugh at ourselves. We're going to have to laugh. People who live through difficult times, no matter what's going on in the world today, people could say, "Oh, I come from a line of people that already been through that, and so that don't bother me. I'm gonna laugh my way through this. I'm gonna listen to the laugh track up here, and I'm gonna get through this because what I am a living magnet. I can attract the best of the best, very positive people, very positive situations. You might speak into the ethers around you. Oh, I got these debts to be paid, but they gonna work along with me because I'm living in a different world in my mind. I have quantum leaped into a different lane. And where I am now, the debt collector ain't going to nag me. They're going to keep giving me the good deal. They're waiting for me. They're working along for me. And something's going to happen so I have the money to pay them off. Or I start making payments. Or there's a certain thing I have to meet in the middle of the week. I'm always going to make it every month in the middle of the week. Boom, I'm gonna have X amount of dollars to knock a bill out. I started out with a debt 6, 7 years ago. That was like $14,440. I am now down to 2,400 and change. Why? Because I never missed. I've been able to pay it. Don't know where the money comes from, but I'm able to pay it and get it going. I get the money out in the mail before the voucher comes in. That's how great it's been. And I'm doing it gradually with other things. So I'm here to tell you that you are a living source. You are a reflective source of the divine force. You're a replica of it, of its trillions and billions of thoughts that it's constantly radiating out into the universe. You're one of them. You're one of a kind. And whatever that divine primary source wants that thought to do, which is you, you're going to fulfill it because you got many streams running off of your heart. And these are the quantum leap streams that you jump into. That's going to cause you to become successful at being healthier, at being happier, having a smile on your face. You never know. You go to a place, you just acknowledge somebody. Well, guess what? You can acknowledge somebody just enough where they could see the glint in your eye. They can feel the radiation in your auric field, and they know there's something different about you. So what? They sit by you. I've gone to a place called a Flying Star one time, and a woman came in there and she said, "Oh my goodness, can I tell you something?" I said, "What's that?" And she said, it was in the month of May, and she says, "My late husband and I, 6 years ago, sat in that very same seat, and what you're having for lunch is exactly what he ordered. And that dessert, that slice of cake, is exactly what he had. Are you drinking tea?" I said, "No, I'm drinking coffee." He had that too. I said, "Well, what did you have?" And she told me what she had. But they sat in the same chair toward the door before you go out on the patio. And that was the day that her husband transitioned. And she was a little sad, and she didn't want to, she hadn't left her house in 6 days. Every time that date would come up, she wouldn't leave. But her girlfriends got her to come out. She's glad she did because she saw me, and he said, "My husband must be around you." I didn't tell her that I have some abilities, but I could say, "Well, maybe he is." I said, "Can I share something with you?" She says, "Yeah." I said, "This is the day that my late mother passed away. However, I celebrate her day. I celebrate her birthday, and I celebrate her transition. Why? Because they're important. And whatever is going on in my life, I get a blessing from the curtain of light from her and from my father now. On the dates that they transition, I get something. They send me something. They send me an opportunity. They send me a new idea, or they make me sit down, cause me to draw with pencils or something, just to relax. So we have to listen. We got to review our dreams closely. We've got to listen to our thoughts, but we have to pay attention to what we're thinking and what we are feeling because we don't want to live in the past. If you look at something in the past, it's got to be something that was positive that happened for you and to you in your life, not something that created so much static that you couldn't live. So, speak highly about yourself. Look at yourself in the mirror whenever you can and tell yourself you're the most handsomest person in the world. You're the most beautiful person in the world. You are very creative and everybody likes to hear your ideas. Even the dogs, the cats, and the ants, and the bees, and the mosquitoes. Everybody wants to hear what you got to say. The cells in your body are constantly listening to you. So, here are some other things. Not only are you healthy and happy, and that you're a magnet, but you're attracting, you can say, I attract new positive experiences and people. And what you have to do is you got to put the emotional energy into it and you have to feel it so deeply in yourself that you know it's right in front of you. You get up every day, you're going to feel the charge of energy because it's charged with your words, your thoughts, your deeds, your actions, and experiences. Now, when you do this, remember to write in a positive tense, a present tense. Let's go within. Center of your sternum is your heart center. Your heart radiates more energy, brighter energy, a higher frequency greater than your brain. When you tune into your heart center, the energy behind the sternum, on top of your heart, you know without a doubt in your mind that what you're about to say is true for you. I affirm And then you pause because you want to feel what that word is doing on the inside of you first. I affirm that I am a magnet. See, the first those words, I affirm, means you're stating the truth. But I am is the nature of the light of the universe, a prime creator, God source, Shiva, whatever you want to say. That's what I am is. And it dwells in you. You know it's on the inside. So it is the I am presence that is speaking a divine connection for you. And you know it to be true. So you don't have a doubt in your mind. I am a magnet. I always attract positive, good people into my life. I always attract and enjoy positive experiences in my life. I am in the right place at the right time, doing the right thing with the right people and getting the right results all the time. I no longer live in the past. In fact, I don't think about the past. I only think about right now. And you know, the veils are so thin that you could talk to people that are connected to you who have crossed over, who are on the other side. They're walking with you, they're driving with you, they're hiking with you, they're walking with you. You're sitting down watching some TV, they're right there. Out of the corner of your eye, you see them like a slither walk right through the light energy field right around you. You begin to hear how they used to talk, and that overtakes you, that you know it's them. You might smell cologne, something that they smoked, or something that they wore, or they might put something around you that was connected to them. And when you see it, you know it wasn't there before, but it's there now. So that means they got the message and they're telepathically communicating with you. Embrace the moment. Embrace the moment so that you know that you are on track. And even if something pops up and tries to knock you off the wild bull, you're gonna tell the bull, you going, I'll catch up with you later. You're still gonna do what you're supposed to do. Why? Because it's your time to do it. Even the bull that buck you off may come on back and put you on his back and keep on moving. And just between you and the bull ain't gotta act out. The bull's gonna take you to your destination. It's time for us to feel good about ourselves. Well, let us take this moment to know that what is dwelling on the inside knows perfectly well what we are to attract into our life. And what is that? That is our higher self. That's the one that has no connections to low vibrations. It only knows that which is positive, and it expects that which is positive. And because it states it over our life, we start looking for it, and the body starts becoming more magnetic, and it starts drawing us to those experiences, those people, those opportunities where positively and positive situations exist all the time. Well, thank you for joining me. Know that you're going to let the feeling get the blessing, as Reverend Ike would say. And you're going to begin to feel each and every word that you are speaking. Why? Because you're speaking life into life. In other words, you got this life, but you're speaking something that's in the ethers waiting to be brought into your life. That's what you're talking to. And the higher self dwelling on the inside of you reaches out to it and brings it in. So, thank you for being here with me today. I hope this makes sense to you. This is our words we speak, which should say the words we speak create our life experiences. What we speak will come into existence. So we have to be careful how we project new words, new phrases, old phrases. But it's got to turn the life around. It's got to make us feel good, make us feel better, make us excited about life. And again, thank you for joining me. You can come here on Resident Essentials Facebook page. Like if I wasn't going to be here today, I said in the email, try uh, the Circle of Grace One YouTube channel if I wasn't here. I can't use Instagram. So if I wasn't going to be here, then I was going to go on Facebook through my profile page and broadcast. So we're seeking to have a better life. Now, if you need to know about Resonant Essentials Esoteric School of Metaphysics, that's whose platform I'm on here for you to. Go to their website, www.resonantessentials.com. That's RESONANTESSENTIALS.com. And a calendar will pop up. And when you click on that calendar, you can go into other things and see other things. Oh, thank you, Jen. Thank you so much. Thank you, Holly, for being here and other people who have come through. I know other people are behind the scenes, so I'm going to say hello. And some people are going to replay this. So I'm going to say hello to Melanie from Australia. I'm going to say hello to Corey from down there in Virginia. I'm going to say hello to Linda Garcia right here in Albuquerque. Of course, Jen and Eric here in Albuquerque. Holly, who's out on the West Coast in California. If Rose uh, comes through here, I think she's from Michigan. Also, Carol, she's from South Dakota. Everybody's going to be in here at some point. Barbara Ewing from the East Coast, also. Uh, and then other individuals like Julie, she's on the East Coast. So whenever you all come in and replay this, I'm saying hi to you. Now, Resident Essentials is located here in Albuquerque. The zip code is 87107. The location is 2703 Broadbent Parkway Northeast, Suite J, in the Broadbent Park Industrial Area. So you'll see that. But if you're coming riding up and down Manal, yeah, if you're riding up and down Manal, which runs parallel to Candelaria, if you're traveling east on Manal, you could turn at a traffic light where on the right hand side is Sunset Cemetery, on this side is Carrington Nursing School, College. And you could turn like you're going right to it, make the left turn like you're going in there to the nursing college called Carrington, and follow the road to the right all the way around. And then you're going to see it get long and straight, and the numbers are on the top of the building. So toward the corner of each building is the building number. So you just look for 2703, pull in. You don't have to pull behind it. You kind of pull to the right. And if you see some people hanging out front, that's it. Suite J. It's going to be next to the last one, last suite. And you can go in that way. I'll be there on Saturday from 11:30 to 12:30 p.m. teaching my creative pathwork meditation. I will. Who else will be there? There might be some other people in there. There's a whole bunch. If you go to the website, you'll see. So that's how you can get to us. If you need more information about any classes and videos that I'm putting out now, because when people are unable to sign up for certain courses, I'm turning them into videos, 8-part video or 6-part video. You want to email me at iam.circleofgrace1 at gmail.com. That's iam.circleofgrace1 at gmail.com. You can also look at my website, www.circleofgrace with the number one at the end, .us. Circle of Grace 1.us. And that's my website. You can follow me on Facebook, Instagram, Substack, and Blue Sky. But to give you those links, you should email me and I can give you all those links in an email. I'm no longer allowed to broadcast on Instagram because I don't have 1,000 followers, but I'm up there. I got 800 and change. So when I get another 123, 100, another 127 more followers on Instagram, then I can simulcast. I can be here and through my phone be on Instagram and go live. Else is happening? Hey, this is the International annual international hot air balloon fiesta that's taking place on Saturday, October the 4th. And mass ascension balloons kick off from 7 a.m. to 9 a.m. For 2 hours, you're going to see balloons going up in the air. If you can't get down there for 15 bucks, it's going to be a madhouse. Anyway, I'm so glad I live real close so I don't have to go anymore. I can just go in my backyard, which is the parking lot behind my buildings, and just watch the balloons come up because I'm like kind of southwest of there. Anywho, there's ways of getting there. You should go look it up. Or if you can't get there, you can also go to YouTube and go to one of the stations. But when you go on YouTube, just type in International Hot Air Balloon Fiesta in Albuquerque, and they broadcast live those first 2 hours every morning from 7 a.m. to 9 a.m. Mountain Standard Time. You can watch it on YouTube live. And they'll be interviewing different people and they have camera crews down there and things of that nature. So that's a good way to do that as well. All right, what else I need to tell you? There's a Gem and Mineral show that kicks off this Friday, which is the 3rd, and Saturday the 4th, and Sunday the 5th. Those 3 days for like, I guess, $5, $10 parking way down there in the fairgrounds area. And you can go in into a gem and mineral show. You get to it off, I believe, San Mateo will take you down there just before you get down to Central Avenue. You'll hang a left turn, you'll see it, signs that'll take you in there. And then they'll tell you where you can park because you already will pay for the parking through the guard gatehouse there. And when you do that, then you just park and go inside, and you can see hundreds upon hundreds of vendors having gems, all kind of gems. I don't go anymore because when I go, I'm always buying selenite. And my selenite crew says, "You bring one more piece of selenite in here, curtains for you, Mister." So I got enough gems in here. But for those who have never been to the gem show, you should go. But again, if you can get to the down there for the annual balloon fiesta, I guess this is the 60, close to the 60th, or maybe the 58th year annual. Yeah, because I think they started in 1967. So yeah, this would be the 58th year that you get a chance to see these balloons. And it's at least an additional, I think the city and the suburb of Albuquerque is pretty close to what, 500, 600,000 citizens, maybe 700,000. We got twice that amount here already. They're already here. So you got these extra people. So restaurants are going to be full in the morning. If you're trying to get to a restaurant, you got to hightail it. You got to make sure you get in there first, you know, so you can get something to eat or cook something. I just letting you know that because there's a lot going on, and the balloon fiesta every day at night they do fireworks. They also have entertainment down on the field behind where all the balloons take off. So it is a sight to see. Sometimes you can get into the museum and walk around the museum and see a lot of things, and then if you are a part of a particular crew that had rented a conference room, you can be there and chow down and see from there, or you can walk through on the ground floor and go right outside and be on the patio part of it and see stuff. So this will be going on from Saturday, October the 4th through Monday, October the 12th. 8 days, 7 nights, a lot of activity. All right, I'm going to close down. Hope to see you in meditation if you're able to get there this Saturday at Resident Essentials Esoteric School of Metaphysics, 2703 Broadbent Parkway Northeast, Suite J, Albuquerque, New Mexico, 87107. Right there around the corner, inside that area, you will see Carrington College Nursing College, right off of, it's before you get to 25. I 25 is in there. So it's before you get to I 25. There'll be a traffic light there if you are traveling east on Manoa. That's one way to get in. You'll like it. If you're traveling west, you got to come under I 25, and the light after that, when you come under that, is the light coming up on your right. You'll be able to make a right turn. You'll find us. Take care of yourself. Have a great rest of your day. I'm gonna drink more water. I'm gonna watch some Netflix. I'm gonna check my mail. Thank you for joining me. I look forward to hearing from you. Email me, do whatever you need to do to stay in touch with me. I love you all. Divine grace blessings. My grace is your grace from my ancestors to yours, from Akhenaten and Nefertiti to you. Until next time, remember that divine grace is a blessing as we're alive and well in the age of remembrance. Take care.